It is, sorry. It is so good. I love these new recordings. They are really are beautiful.
Yeah, I've been doing them with my neighbor to because she wants to see how I homeschool. And so we stopped at 4 and she went camping. So I was like, I can't stop. So I'm watching them and then I'll watch them again with her later. But they're so good.
Nice.
The 5 and 6 is so good.
Section 5 and section 6 in Catch the
Yeah,
Vision. Yeah.
yeah. Very
Yeah.
inspiring.
I think so too, and I'm so glad you're doing it. There's so many moms that are going back and either kind of refreshing themselves a little bit on Catch the Vision or starting it anew because they've never actually done it, or just adding the new videos and watching those new additions. So I just think that's so great. There'll be so much good that will come from this. Wow, we got a bunch on right in the beginning today. That's pretty, you ladies are on top of it. I love it. Well, welcome. It's good to see so many faces on Friday morning. It's just so, so nice to have you here. So I'm glad you all are here. And I think we have a few more that are going to join in too. So, and then just to see faces back after the break of the summer. So that's nice too. So welcome. All right. So does anybody have anything that you came with that just is, sitting on your heart and you want to share right off the bat? I'm thinking maybe Carrie. Okay, go ahead, Carrie.
I'm not sure that I ever don't have something to say when it comes to well-educated heart.
Yeah.
It's my kids were both in very, very active magnet programs here in Las Vegas. They were both in the performing arts magnets, and they decided that they wanted homeschool this year. And we haven't officially started yet, but we have been taking this last month. I guess you would call it to unschool a little bit. We've just been doing physical activity, nature sort of stuff, journaling, whatever, just well-educated heart stuff. And the other day, my daughter Rebecca did her first notebooking page. She's 12. She's never done it before, but I've been doing it, making sure to do it where they could see me, and really just doing it for myself. And she did. She gave us this. We are doing a little bit of academics with Acellus, but the history class there had gotten her interested in the Byzantine Empire. And so she had this notebooking page full of the Byzantine Empire and the amazing things that we got, women's rights and different good things that came historically from some of anyway, and good moral things from it too, that we shouldn't give up. The first emperor encountered some problems in the first 5 years, and the next 25 were counted as some of the most, influential years for that empire, and wouldn't have happened if they wouldn't have persevered. Anyway, it was just a sign for me of just how much this is where it's at as far as helping build our whole children. And anyway, it was amazing. It was awesome.
I love that. I love to hear stories of how that example, that model of us doing the thing in front of our children really does impact them. It does have an influence on them, and it does motivate them to do something. And I also love, because you and I have been chatting, that here in this situation where you're having this almost, some anxiety, maybe even a little bit of panic about this, the kids coming home and what's that going to be like, and how is all of that going to work out? And here you have this sweet and tender experience to kind of comfort your mama heart and help you feel confident about moving forward. So I love that. That's so sweet. Okay, thank you for sharing. Anybody else have something they brought they want to share first off? Because we've been away for a while. Some of you joined us last week and we had such a lovely discussion. So over the weekend, I'm hoping to get everything caught up, load all the recordings so that you can watch those that you missed. Hello,
Hi.
Mary.
Hello. I have something I've just noticed the power of small things lately. And one of them, so my oldest is 5, he'll turn 6 in October. And so he would be going to kindergarten this year. And we just decided to homeschool, but for a lot of reasons. But
I started reading chapter books to him, and I was so excited because we finished the series that we had been reading. It's called The Wild Robot, and he loved those books. He loves robots, and they're fairly simple. They're well written, but like they're definitely written for kids his age, and really short chapters and fairly simple language. And we jumped right from that into the Chronicles of Narnia. And I was sitting there going, he is not going to understand any of this. Like, I really wasn't. It took us 7 months to finish the second Wild Robot book, which it's not that big of a book. And so I was kind of nervous about starting the Chronicles of Narnia, but I started it and I read some of it one night, and the next morning he went and he grabbed the book, and he has, like, other than picture books, he's never asked me to read to him, like, ever. And he just like grabbed Chronicles of Narnia, and like for 3 days straight, that's all he wanted to do. And he's fairly rambunctious, and he would just sit there and cuddle up next to me and listen or play quietly, and it was amazing. So we finished Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And then this morning, and I still don't think he understood most of it, but the fact that he was excited about reading a book that was a little bit harder and a little bit longer was really exciting for me. And then this morning, my kids were fighting from the moment they woke up. And so I just jumped on YouTube and looked up Well-Educated Heart, and there was one that came up. Bless all of the women who have put things out there for people. But somebody had made a compilation of videos with or not videos, pictures with classical music, and I just put it on my Apple TV, and my son was like, I've never been able to get him interested in art, but I just said, "Oh, I love this picture," and he came over and looked at it. He's like, "Oh, I like it too." And then he stood there and watched the pictures, and he's like, "Oh, Mom, now they're doing this, and now they're doing this, and oh, Mom, look, he's blowing bubbles." And it was just so exciting for me to see him get excited about art, which is something that he's never been willing to sit down long enough to look at. So, yeah, just small things.
I love that. And that is so true, that they respond to things that are good and beautiful. There was just a story this week, I'm sorry, on Follow Him. And one of the hosts was talking about their daughter and having a science project that she did in the past. And I think it was mice, but it was some rodents. And they were forced to listen to music, all day long. And one of them, in one of the cages, it was classical, and in the other, or, in some kind of, it was classical. And I think it was Mozart. And then the other one, it was hard rock. And then somehow in her testing and in her, experimenting, the mice were given a choice as to where they could go to whichever cage or room or however they did it they wanted. And in the end, all of the mice ended up in the one cage with the classical music. So I thought that was really interesting. Not surprising, but interesting. The things that you listen to, the things you experience, the things that you put yourself in front of, they do make a difference. They definitely, you feel something. You might not be able to put it all into words, but you feel something. And we tend, if we're being wise, we tend to do those things that help us to feel better. So I like that. Anybody have some thoughts about that or anything else they want to share? I'm sharing a YouTube channel with you over here. For those of you who want occasionally to find something that's heartwarming and sweet, this one that I just sent in the chats is done by one of our ladies from here. So Daisy Warnick, it's her little YouTube channel. And have any of you been there? I think a couple of you have been there. Tricks and Books. Can anybody share just a tiny bit about what she does there? And sorry, I just said Lindsay, I was looking at you.
We've been on there a couple times, and she'll share cute stories and art and her chickens. It's just very sweet, and her little voice is just so sweet and lovely. And yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really cute. And she loves her chickens, so she will highlight her chickens on there occasionally. And it's just very sweet. So, okay, anybody else have things you want to share? I just like to go to you first in case there was something that's just kind of on your heart and you want to bring it. And I don't want you to run out of time for that. I don't want us to run out of time for that.
I'll share something.
Okay, awesome. Hi, Melanie.
So, when my boys were younger, I started going through the Story of the World series with them by Susan Wise Bauer.
Mhm.
And I read the first book to them, and then they've kind of just been reading books 2, 3, and 4 on their own. And now they're older and they're finishing book 4. And I've been wondering, now that my girls are kind of in early elementary, I've been wondering when I'd start going through that with them. And if I would, or if I would just switch to, Marley's history kinds of books. Anyway, and my older daughter is 8 years old, and she has been pretty resistant overall to chapter books, and she's just kind of starting to warm up to me reading them to her, and just she's okay like reading a page at a time, like alternating with me, but hasn't been willing to do even short chapter books on her own. So that's kind of the background of my story. But so like a week or so ago, I knew that my son was getting to a part about the World War II, and I just was curious how they were treating it in the book. So I sat down and I ended up reading like 4 or 5 chapters. I found it really interesting. And she saw me, my daughter, my 8-year-old, saw me reading it, and she wanted me to get her food or something. I was like, just a minute, I want to finish this chapter. And just that little interaction of her seeing that I was reading this book and that it was interesting and that I wanted to finish the chapter, she started asking me more questions about this book. And I was reading the 4th one, and oh, is there a first one? And she picked up the first book and just started reading it. And she's never read a chapter book by herself before, but this is like a history book, and so it just really surprised me. And she's read like 10 chapters all on her own now, and she's just really excited about it. So anyway, it was an interesting experience to me of seeing like what I've been hearing, from Well-Educated Heart, that they see your examples, and when you're feeding your heart, they see the things you're interested in and kind of follow suit.
Yes,
I'd
and it's
share.
just another kind of support for that idea that you don't tell them, you show them.
Yeah.
That showing them is so much more successful. That's the way to teach or influence people, is to show them. I love that. Thanks for sharing that, Melanie.
Mhm.
I'm curious to know how many of you have been curious about or are have been motivated to go back and finish the Catch the Vision course if you hadn't finished, or started again if you hadn't ever actually started the introduction and the Catch the Vision course in preparation for what's happening September 1st. And I know there have been questions about that and some confusion about it, but I'm just here to say, oh, please go to Catch the Vision. There's so much goodness there. Lindsay, I saw you unmute. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've gone through all of it before, other than the new things that she put in, but I had done it like over a longer period of time. And there was something about going through it this time, like all condensed. I think I did it all in a week, and just kind of reviewing all the stuff that I'd already listened to or read, and then the new stuff. I don't know what happened, because I feel like my heart changed the first time. So I thought, well, it can't like change again, right? Like, but it did. It's like I caught the vision even more. Like, I don't know how it happened, but it's like even before I caught the vision, but I was still like, my mind was always worried about things like math, like the things that we're like trying to get away from, but it was still always there in the back of my mind. I have so much peace now after going through it this time. And the new platform, I've been able to check it out, and it is so heartwarming. You feel like you're in a living room with all of these women somehow. Like, it's similar to Facebook in that there's chats and things like that. So I don't know how it has a feeling, but it does. I don't know. I've just been like so happy lately that my heart, like in the mornings before My daughter just started seminary, and normally I would come home and be like, okay, like, what do I need? I'd start planning. What do I need her to study? Like, she's getting older. She needs to do like US history, and I'd be worried about these things. And we are doing those things, but in a very different way. Like today we were short on time, and I thought, oh, I should just read her the next story out of the Great Americans book that we're going through. But instead I thought, we only have a few minutes. I think it would be better if we just did poetry and art out of the Book of Delights. So we've been doing that every morning. So I'm like, somebody said, it's the feeling, I think it was Lori, it's the feelings more so than the information. So I was still before thinking, okay, I got to get this heartwarming information into them. I don't know. I have such a hard time putting it into words, but instead I've been focusing on, let's create those feelings between us, like my kids and I and our family, and help get those feelings stirred up in them as we read the poems. And I've been doing it for bedtime stories instead too. If I'm short on time, I'm like, I'll just read a few poems then. And it's funny that the kids love them. Like, I thought, oh, they're gonna be like, oh, I don't want poems, I want a story. But I read one the other day that was like a tongue twister, and they were so excited, and they started thinking of new ones. And anyway, I feel like it changes the dynamic of your home again when we as moms can catch the vision again, or for the first time, or even more, like every time we remember what we're supposed to be doing. I feel like the whole culture of our home changes.
Yeah, I see that. I hear that from moms. So I'd like to know from more of you who have listened to anything on Catch the Vision, what do you feel like it brings to you? How does it change your heart? What does it do? Ida, hello, my friend.
Hey, long time no see.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, so I just went through it again myself, and I wanted to, like, I was kind of stressing out about stuff with school and everything, like, and I'm like, ah, it's coming, and I had all these things that were coming up, like people were like, oh, there's this class and this class or this stuff that you could do, and they all sound super exciting. So I was like, yeah, let's do all these things. And so I'm talking to my kids, and my kids are stressing out about it because they're like, oh, this is something new, and it makes them nervous. And so they were kind of like pushing back a little bit. And I was having all this going on. And then I'm like, I need to like make sure I get all the way through the like review everything from the introductory course that I can, and make sure I catch the new stuff, because I'm like, I want to be on the same page with everything that's going on. And I was like, I feel like I'm getting so far behind. So then I was going through stuff, and it was just like I didn't like watch everything, like things that I was like, okay, I don't remember exactly what this is about. Not that I remember everything, right? But I was like, I feel like I should listen to like certain things. So I was like kind of picking and choosing a little bit and skimming some of the others. But then I'm like, this is so good. It's so like amazing. It was like so heartwarming for me, and helped me really like just focus again on like things that are most important. And I realized, you know what? There's all these classes and all these things that my kids could do, and that's great. But also they need some freedom to decide and kind of choose for themselves too. Like, and finding that balance. Okay, so we need to do something, but you think about it, you think about it, you think what you need to be focused on. And so and before I was like, well, you're taking this because mom said you're taking it, so you have to suck it up and take it. And changing that to, you know what, I think this would be really good, but I want you to think about it and you decide for yourself. And their attitude was totally different as well, and like they were way more receptive. And it just changed the whole, like really the whole feeling in me, and then in our home, because of that was reflecting out for me that like, this is a process and a journey, and you know, all of us have to kind of choose for ourselves, otherwise we're really not going to learn anything or really grow. And it was kind of neat because my 3 oldest daughters are still learning English, and they are all at different levels. But my oldest, she was asked by somebody to write her story down, and so she was writing it, and um, she wanted to share that with me. And I read it and I was just like, hey, this is so great. Like, I was kind of pressuring into taking this a couple different English classes, but um, she was like, I don't know. Anyway, so then I read this paper and I felt like the last year, like their English had progressed, but I was like, they can kind of communicate, but in some ways it's still sort of a struggle. But the feelings and the thoughts that she conveyed in her writing were so great. Like the grammar was like actually really good, and her English, her spelling and everything was really good. And before she would just like use Google Translate, so she would write something in Bulgarian and then she would translate it into English and write it down. And that would didn't work very good because like it doesn't translate very well. And so she said this time she just decided, I'm just going to write it how I think it's supposed to sound. And so I was just talking to her about that, and I'm like, you did very good, and you should be so proud of yourself. And um, anyway, so I was kind of like, it was also reassuring, like, you know what, she's making progress. She's making a ton of progress, and she still is on her journey. But like, I can't just be like, okay, you have to do this. You have to take this as a class or whatever. And just so, anyways, long story short, it was just so good for me to refocus on like those things and be like, freedom in learning. Like compulsion never works. It doesn't work for anything, you know, like yes, you might see these things in your children, but when you try to push them, then they resist because nobody likes to be forced. So that was super helpful for me. And then I just went like, okay, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I'm just gonna give them some freedom.
I love it. I am really sorry. I was trying to mute so that you didn't hear all the typing, but it was so loud. I'm really sorry. I was trying to send that at the end of Ida's message just because we want to see your faces. If there's any way we can see your faces, we want to do that. And if you can't, we understand. But just, we love to see the crazy backgrounds. We love to hear the kids. We love all of that. So Ida, I love that. I think that's so sweet and and what a wonderful thing for you to have that experience, seeing that change. I think that is such a wonderful thing as a parent to get to see. I love that.
Hey, I have something else to add. So going along with the catch the vision course, I just went through it again. I've gone through it a couple of times, but I wanted to go back and catch all of the added stuff, and it's been a while. And I'm so glad that I did. But something that stood out to me, and it had been kind of growing on me, and then doing the catch the vision course again reminded me of it, that like I've often thought of like the well-educated heart for my kids, and it kind of has been dawning on me that like my heart needs to be fed first, and then I'll be able to feed my children's heart better, but also you know, my relationship with my children will change as I feed my heart. And I just had this kind of, in the last week, I had this really stark difference between heart and mind. I listened to The Last Bookshop in London, which is a fantastic book, highly recommend it, on the recommendation of Sarah McKenzie, who does Read Aloud Revival. And I had kind of a hard time getting into it, but then I just loved it, and I cried, and it was just like, it made me feel all the feels, both good and bad. I mean, it's a World War II story, so you definitely have some bad in there. But it just made me feel, and I loved that. And then yesterday I was kind of just having an off day. We're moving again, and I ended up scrolling on social media, and I have this bad habit of reading all the comments. to everything. And it was so heart numbing. Like there was just no, I ended up not feeling any of the feelings except for just kind of like this apathetic, depressive thing, which I was already tired. So that just doesn't, if I have depressive episodes, it's usually when I haven't gotten enough sleep or when I've gotten woken up too early or something like that. But reading the posts on social media that weren't necessarily bad, the comments may or may not have been negative, but they were just heart numbing. And the difference to me between reading a book that dealt with some serious, it's talking about the bombing of London, and you have some really horrible, but it made you feel, versus all of the, comments on social media, whether they were good or bad, and just kind of the numbing of all the feelings. It kind of opened up my eyes that the heart education doesn't necessarily mean sunshine and butterflies and rainbows. Yeah, exactly. It's heart stirring. It makes you feel something. It makes you feel something that is not apathy, because apathy is, the lack of feeling or care. Anyway, it just, having listened to the Cash Division course that closely to then these two very different experiences, just kind of opened up my eyes to what a well-educated heart is. And it's a heart that can feel.
Yeah, thanks, Mary, for sharing that. I love that. Amber, were you going to share? Oh, okay. I catch those little bits of motion, and sorry, you guys are going to get nervous and like I have to be completely still so she doesn't call on me. Sorry. But I love that this is really helping us in a world where we're bombarded with the negative, which causes people to think falsely that the whole world is so negative. That can be very discouraging. But the reality is it's social media, and it's our media, and that puts out so much negativity, and magnifies the negativity. And there are so many people out there who feel lost and feel discouraged and hopeless and afraid. There are some young moms out there who feel afraid about the future and the future with their children and things like that. And it's such a false picture of the world that they're seeing. And I think we've been blessed to have the well-educated heart, libraries of hope, mothers of influence, all of these things. We've been blessed to have these come into our lives to help us have that contrast to see, like Lindsay said. I love that. And Marley said, the well-educated heart is a heart that can feel. And that's so true. So Mary, thanks again for sharing that. But it's true, and it makes a difference. You can feel all the things, but you have that sensitivity. And I think that's key. And as a mother, you need that sensitivity to be able to respond to your family. As a friend, you need that sensitivity to be able to kind of sense or feel what your friend is feeling and kind of know how to respond. I love what it brings to our lives. Okay, anybody else have something you want to add or something different you want to share? I do have to second Lindsay's comment about, Marlene made some reference to this new platform, this Mighty Networks, that there are people in there doing some house cleaning and getting everything prepared. We're kind of putting fresh flowers out and things like that in anticipation of your arrival. But it really has a different feeling in there. And I am so excited about moving from Facebook to something else and not having the negativity and the limitations. So it really is a very special place. And that we were just talking about it this morning, the grandmas, we were having Marco Polo back and forth. And we were talking about that quote that says, mother love works magic but organized mother love works miracles. And it was Marley that shared that. And I'm so grateful you did, Marley, because that helped me have a deeper, greater understanding of what we're doing there. And this is the place where Mothers of Influence is organized. This is the place where that organized mother love will, I don't know, I won't say the right words, probably Marley will have to come on and correct me, but where that's going to kind of start and really begin, we're going to begin to see the blessings of that organized mother love. There she is.
I'm never going to come on and correct anything you say for me. But you have hit a little passion thing for me that I love to talk about. And I love how Marlene did those circles, and you can see all those different circles, and Mothers of Influence is one of those circles. And having been a part of the growth process of all of this, you know, I came in with Mothers of Influence. That was kind of a place where I stepped into this, and that component is so much more than just bringing mothers together to learn and study or to help strengthen their children, and that's an important piece of this. But Mothers of Influence is about organized mother love, and it's about uniting our hearts together as women with lots of different women. And the beauty is, you don't have to be homeschooling, you don't have to be the same faith, you don't have to be the same age, but you have to have this desire to have a heart that feels, and to use that for some good in the world, some lifting and purpose. And to me, that's the grand mission of all of this. Is it's so much more than just an educational philosophy or how to be happier. It's all of those things, but it's also this work of women that can lift the world in a really small and simple yet powerful way. So that's that piece of Mothers of Influence, that organization that we knit our hearts together in this common purpose. And I love your thoughts on Catch the Vision, because that common purpose is in the vision, and the how is in the Libraries of Hope, and the Belam is just the beautiful scattering of it all. Anyway, sorry, I don't even know if that was helpful. That was just my passion.
Stay here, and I just want you all to also notice her cute little Izod, her Lacoste, you know, the little shirt. It's a little alligator. I mean, that is so back to my days of high school and everything. I love it. My preppy friend.
Lori and I were old. We're old people. So yeah, it's all preppy.
I know, I love it. And green even, you know. So pink pants, you have pink pants on too. So
not today, sorry.
No, that's okay. So can you speak a little bit more to how you see these coming together, these different rings, and just anything else that's on your heart that you would love to share with this amazing and wonderful group of women who make the time to come together on these Fridays to help nurture their hearts. I just love it. And ladies, I don't know if you know, but Marley was the first Mothers of Influence group. That's where this all started, was conversations between Marley and Jen and Marlene. And I don't know if there was somebody else, but anyway, that was the beginning of Mothers of Influence. This is an inspired work that now is kind of finally blossoming, I feel like. So anyway, if there's anything more you want to share, Marlene, we would love to hear it.
No, not
don't say no.
Except
you can't say no with all of that introduction.
I am here. I logged in today just because I was coming from a place of a little bit of emptiness, and I knew that this was a place where I could just get filled a little bit. And to me, that is real power. And I love just sitting and listening and hearing each person kind of share their perspective on what's happening and how this is sifting through them and changing and growing. But there's so much strength to be drawn from each other, and that is Mothers of Influence to me. So there have been some kind words about the community, and I thought we've put flowers out and we've decorated it a little bit and we've done these things, but what it needs is you. And you are the women that will make it be alive, and it will feed you, and it'll feed me, and it'll feed Marlene, and it'll feed what we can do through our influence. So I'm just grateful to each of you, and just want to thank you for just giving me what I needed today. So thank you.
Marley, I love that. And that is the best thing that we could get out of your comments, is that idea that we all are giving in this. We're all participating. It's us linking arms together, that, you know, the hearts being knit together, all of those different, that symbolism, the cedars of Lebanon, all of that is supposed to help us see how we each are part of this community. And we each have an important part to play. Sometimes it's just being there, being fed. And other times it's sharing a thing that seems so little to us, but it's very significant to somebody who's listening. And it's just that one thing they needed to hear to help them feel better. So I love that. That's beautiful.
Thanks for letting me drop in and be here.
Yeah, sorry for spotlighting you. Okay, others, and I know she just walked away, but Lindsay Watkins, you need to come back because I think you have something to share. So, oh, and Emily's here. Emily, I'm glad you're here. Do you have a minute to share something? I don't know if you're just connecting. Maybe. Emily? It's so hard.
I didn't realize I wasn't muted. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I just thought, oh, good. Emily's not muted, so she must have something to share.
No, just glad to be here.
Good. We love that you're here. I love it. I love seeing all these faces, and it still is amazing to me that most of you I've never met, but I feel connected. I could run into you somewhere and I would hug you like, oh, it's been so long since we've seen each. Oh, well, we don't really ever see each other, but I guess it doesn't matter, you know, except for here, which is wonderful. Isn't that amazing that we now have this technology, and Heavenly Father has provided this technology to where we can connect in this way that has been essential during those COVID years, and now just has been enjoyable for us to continue these friendships, and also to have a place to invite people to come just to see what it feels like. Because you can't really, again, you can't really tell a person, oh, I get together with this group of women and we have these amazing conversations and experiences. Maybe they sort of believe you, but it doesn't motivate them to actually do anything about that. But then if someone comes here and they feel it, and I find this just hard to believe, except that I've experienced it myself. Some women just listen. They just watch the video recordings of our meetings, and they've never ever been here because they can't make the time or something. And they feel connected to all of you from watching a recording of this discussion. That seems crazy to me. And yet I put a little post on our little Facebook group, our little personal one for Teach Our Own Hearts this morning, just saying, I have listened and watched some of those video recordings, and I feel that. I feel the connection to you ladies, and someone will say something and I was there, I was hosting the discussion, you know, but I'll hear it again and I think, oh, that's so beautiful. That was so true. And so much of the discussion that happens in there is just this, it's warm and wonderful, and it's real, it's genuine sharing. And there's something about that that is so uplifting and encouraging and motivating. It warms my heart. It makes me feel good. And so it helps us to see this connecting with other women. It's huge. It's so much bigger than you realize until you do it. And then you don't want to be without it. You realize, okay, yes, it takes a sacrifice of my time. It does. And if you're going to meet with maybe a small group in person or something, you know, you're going to have to make more sacrifices to make that happen. But what you get out of it is so rich and so rewarding that you're willing, you know, you realize, oh, I need this. It makes the rest of my days easier. I know that some of you feel that. Does anybody have something they can share about that? Your response to this getting together with other women and sharing. And Lindsay Watkins, sorry, I am gonna pick on you, but I did sort of warn you, but you were away, so I don't know if that counts. But
I was away pretending not to hear the call out there. No, it's funny because I sat down. It's been so long since I've been on here, and then the summer break that just about killed me. But just knowing I was going to be on here, my heart has just been pounding out of my chest since I sat down, and I've just missed you all. I've met one of you in person, and but still that connection is there. I'm like, oh, I get to see all my friends I haven't seen for a while, and I'm in Maine now. I'm not in Tennessee right now, so we're way far away now. And then when I was packing to come up here to Maine, it was just putting homeschool stuff, because we're only here till the end of September, and then we'll be back in Tennessee for a little while. But I was packing all of our homeschool stuff, and I got this feeling, pack your Catch the Vision book. And I'm like, okay, but it's all online. I don't want to pack stuff. And I kept getting this thing, pack it because you're going to want to take notes. I thought, I'm going to burn my brownies.
you can go and come back.
Oh, I'm sure they're fine. This oven's very slow here. And so, but now I know why I had that feeling to pack it, because as I've been going through it, I've been writing down so much. And it's nice to write it in the book as I'm going and not having to be online and putting notes here, and they're all scattered everywhere. And I knew that something was coming, that I was going to need to have it. And now my phone's ringing. So I'm just happy to be here. I don't have much to share. I haven't gone through it as much as I want to, because we're just trying to settle down from the relocation, but it's just good to see you all.
I love it. Thanks, Lindsay. And Lindsay Bunting. Oh, and Ida. Okay, Lindsay, then Ida.
I just feel like I've been having all these thoughts go through my head, and you and Lindsay just put them into words for me. Like, I've been thinking, like, what is it we do here? Like, what is it? Like you said, like, how do you explain this to people? I can never quite explain what it is we're doing, because we're not really like organizing an event, or we're not like making anything tangible. And like the quote you said, like, organized mother love works miracles. I'm like, what miracles are we doing? And then as you started talking, and Lindsay, like, it's this feeling, and that is the miracle, is that our hearts are being warmed. And I just thought, to most people, that doesn't look like we're doing anything, like we're just sitting here with each other, right? But like, I just feel the importance of, like, that is what we're doing, because so many people don't have that. And I don't think we realize it until you go out and talk to people, that they don't have these heart-stirring things hardly ever. Like, they don't feel these things for anything. They just go through life, and they don't appreciate this, you know, the song of a bird, or like, poetry is old and gross, and who wants to do that? Like, they have totally hardened their hearts. And so I'm starting to realize that's what we're doing. Like, it's clicking for me. So I know how to at least sort of explain it, but like you said, it's not going to motivate people to, like, oh, okay, well, I guess they don't realize they need it, I guess is what, I don't know.
Yeah, until they feel it, which they can feel if just you go and join with them and you have a heartwarming conversation with them, which I love, because Marley always says it's just you and another person that can constitute a Mothers of Influence circle. And I love that. Okay, Ida.
I was just reading the chat. Yeah, I guess it's kind of echoing what Lindsay.
You're a little bit
Lindsay,
quiet, just FYI.
Can you hear? Can you not hear me? Hold on.
Don't lose yourself. I'm going to read what Marley wrote while you're finding yourself.
Yes, please.
The intangible arts, a warm heart has the capacity to pull up more light and spirit. The light and spirit will help you know what you can do with it to create in your own sphere of influence. I love that. Okay, you're back.
You can hear me better now.
A little bit.
Okay. So I was just thinking of what Lindsay was saying, both Lindsay too, and I haven't been here in such a long time either, because summer's has been so crazy and really overwhelming for me. I was like, last summer I had one teenager. This summer I had 5. And I was like, it was a little harder than I thought it was gonna be. And like all of them with camps and there was something happening every week for June. It was just insane. And then into July and anyway, but I so much missed like the interaction with all of you and just feeling that like support, like the other people have the same like vision and goals kind of, and that we're making connections, understanding each other, but also like supporting each other. Like I think that's a big part of it. Like I talk to other moms about things and they're great and I love chatting with them, but they when I say things like, I'm trying to warm my heart, they look at me like I have, like horns growing out of my head or something. Like what are you talking about, and or I don't know. So I've missed it. I felt like this void. And I'm like, oh, this is so refreshing. This is so nice to be able to be back and kind of be getting back into that sort of just feeling that warmth more, So that's all.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. I feel that, and I'm so grateful for it. I love watching just all of you in your different places, and then those that are not on camera, that's okay. I know what you look like. I imagine what you're doing. It's just really nice to be together. Mercedes. Mercedes just joined us last week, and I told her at the end of the discussion, I still can't believe that we never chatted, that we've not had any interactions before last week, because she just seeing her picture, her face right there is just familiar. Hearing, you'll hear in a second when I stop talking finally, that she just sounds like she belongs here. It just feels like she's just a part of us. So I think that's so interesting too. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I just have felt, I have deeply felt the pull and I use the word belong. I want to belong with a group of women that is like-minded. And, you find different, circles of friends in different kind of aspects of your life. And you have friends from church maybe, and you have friends in your neighborhood, and maybe they're the same or different. And, with me, I have little tiny children. So they're, moms you might meet at the park, or, like a homeschooling co-op, whatever. But I have felt since beginning this whole well-educated heart idea, I found it, I think it was not quite a year ago. I think it was around Thanksgiving time that I found it last year. And I have just felt this enormous pull to not only do it, to use it in my own life and to use it to bless the lives of my children, which I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. But to be a part of something that is beautiful and that is uplifting. And I find it just so interesting that we're kind of women, and so we tend to, we're not kind of women, we are women, and we kind of tend to want to sit and chat about things, right? Like we're kind of social that way, general blanket statement. But I am so grateful that I hunted down this post that I had seen with the Zoom link, and that I can just come and meet here. And my husband's supportive. He's like watching my little tiny ones, out in the other room. And so I can have a peaceful experience with you all today. but I just appreciate all of you, and the things that you share, and the different places that we're all at, and that we can draw strength from each other, regardless of whether or not we ran into this, last week or years ago. And so I just wanted to say that I appreciate having this space to be and to belong and to feel like there are other people who do understand what I'm trying to do, what I desperately want to do for myself and my family.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It helps so much to know that you are not alone, that you're not the only one out there doing this. It's huge. And Lindsay Bunting, I'm going to go back to you. Can you share for a sec? I already shared this morning with the grandmas. I just reminded them about that quote and that picture that we each share that we got from Montserrat years and years ago. Can you just share what you get from that, what it is and what you get from that?
Yeah, I was just thinking it's nice to feel like you're not alone. Like when I first found Well Educated Heart, I knew nobody else doing it. Like I couldn't talk about it with anyone. And when I would start, like they wouldn't understand. And so I felt so alone. And then I went to Utah and I went to the Simple Joy conference, and I didn't know a single person in that room, but I sat there at a table of strangers and I got to know a couple of them. And then I went to another little meeting with Marlene, like above a piano store, like super random little meeting. There were like 5 of us in there. And I got to know a couple of their moms there. And just knowing that they were there, I'm gonna get emotional. I didn't talk to them again after that. I would see them on Facebook and maybe comment, and we would see each other, post things on Facebook, but just knowing that they were there and that they were trying to do these same things brought me so much strength. Just knowing that I wasn't the only one in the world trying to do this, that it was part of a network, and I was linked in there, maybe distantly, like there's a little light way over here, and they were all grouped together up there. But that picture, it reminds me of the picture too, because it's the quote was that we're all outposts. I forget the quote. I could go grab it somewhere. There it is. I see it. And I'll show you again. Because then it was just a quote. It wasn't a piece of art. And I gave the quote to our friend, Lori, and I have a mutual friend, and Laura, in our ward, and she's a really good artist, or she just likes to watercolor. She just does it for fun. But I said, can you paint this quote? Like whatever you think it looks like, right? Because there wasn't a picture, was there, Lori?
No,
Okay, so I always forget, like, was this something? And she just made it for us. But the quote says, and it's like when she did the quote, it like wraps around a couple times into this little tail, and so it's kind of hard to read. I have to twist it about. But here's the picture, and it has these little houses with the lights on, and you can see the lights in the other ones. Small outpost of the kingdom of God, reflecting some of, I hope that's the beginning of the quote. Nope, here it is. Our homes are small outposts of the kingdom of God, reflecting some of the glory of heaven, but surrounded by the darkness and constantly under attack. By making room for light through prayer, scripture study, and service, we strengthen our defenses and push back the darkness a fraction of an inch at a time. But I think what stood out to Lori and I the most was that our homes are small outposts, and they're like these little, like we can see each other. Like in the picture, you can see the lights are on over there. Like I can see the lights on at Ida's house, and it brings me peace knowing that she's there. And I can see the lights on at Lindsay's house, and it brings me so much strength knowing that like they're there. If I needed something, if I needed light, I know they have some. Like they're there for me. So I think that's what we got out of that.
I love it. And thank you for sharing. And thanks for connecting it to your experience with Well Educated Heart too. Oh, I love it. And ladies, that's why Marley came and joined us today. She is thick in the preparations of getting ready for September 1st and everything, and needed to have her heart replenished. We do that for each other, and I love that. Yeah, Melissa. Hey, Melissa.
Hey, sorry, we've got colds today. um, but lately I've been having a slow shifting from the need to the choosing things that bring joy and spark happiness in my life.
Mhm.
And I was sitting in my hammock thinking about this a week ago, and I realized I would miss hammock time because when I'm in there, I'm relaxed and the kids all come and snuggle and we read and sing songs and whatever. And so we didn't really have any back to school funds this year. And so we bought a hammock to stick in our house, like an indoor stand hammock. And it doesn't look like the prettiest show home, but I'm literally sitting in my hammock right now in our home. And it's been up for a day. And we've had so many stories and snuggles and songs in our little indoor hammock for our back to school purchase. And just that one choice has already changed things a little bit. But there's something else I wanted to share this week in I was learning a little bit about joy and Hebrew again. And I came across an interpretation of the primitive Hebrew for joy, and it was the doorway in the fence. And I loved that interpretation of joy because a fence either keeps you in or keeps you out, but the doorway lets you through whatever is holding you back or limiting you and lets you through that barrier. And I feel like in so many ways, that's what this group does. Somebody will say something and it'll be like, oh my gosh, I can do this differently, or I haven't thought about it that way. And it just opens up that barrier that you've had and gives you more freedom and liberty and joy and whatnot. So there's a lot more applications for that interpretation, but I think in one little way it applies to this group.
Thank you for saying that. I love that. I love it. Any other thoughts, impressions, responses? Yeah, Emily.
So when I was listening to that, I thought, Lindsay, it reminded me of a story of before matches. You would have to be so careful with your fire. It would heat your home. It was how you cooked and everything. And starting a fire from scratch was something that you didn't usually do. You banked the fire, you kept the coals so that you could start a fire to cook and heat with in the morning. And if your fire went out, one of the kids had to go to the neighbor's house and get the fire and bring it back. And that process of bringing it back, they had to protect it. And there was a special container and all of these things so they could keep the fire that they went to get to bring. And they would just bring a little coal from their neighbors. And at the time there were distances and all of these things. And anyways, so I think of that when we think of our homes being light and how are we, I think this group and Mothers of Influence is the way that we can help those lights be spread and everything, but then transporting that coal from your neighbor's house to your house. Your fireplace will be a little bit different. Your wood will be different sizes, maybe a different species, all of those things. And so you'll have to get it to your house and treat it differently than your neighbor might treat theirs. And I think that's kind of the same. There's like a general which is what I got from Catch the Vision this last time. There's an overreaching, like, this is the idea. And then in each of our homes, it's going to look a little bit different. And that's what I love about it the most, is this freedom to all be doing the same thing, but in the way so individual that we need for ourselves, for our children, for other individuals in our family.
Trying to remember to unmute and unmute. Thank you, Emily. I love that. And I love that we all get something really great from these experiences, the different sharings, the conversations, the quotes, the different things that come up while we're together. I love that. We just have a minute. Anything else? Was just trying to finish typing up the whole larger part of that quote, but then Lindsay shared the link, so that's perfect. Thank you, Lindsay, for doing that. I just remember years ago when I ran across that, I just thought, oh my goodness, I love this. And for me, it's because I started homeschooling, you know, back in the dark ages and nobody else was doing it. And I was all alone and I had way too many people that had strong opinions, you know, about what I was doing and felt that it was so helpful to share that I shouldn't be doing what I was attempting. And so that was so much fun. I felt very, very, very alone. And so this idea of being able to see others, just even if they're far out in the distance, like that picture showed and like Lindsay described, you know, these women that she met that were way over there, but she knew they were there. And so we are that for each other. And I love also just, I love the different things you have shared today, the different ways that we have seen that we are important, we are significant in the lives of others around us and within our own circles of influence. So just building on a thought I heard in a in a podcast earlier, be generous to yourself. And Melissa needs help getting a hammock. I think that's so awesome. I love that. I've always wanted a hammock, so I'm jealous. I'm going to have to see what I can do about that. Oh, thank you. Okay, do you guys see this? Lindsay Watkins put the 3 dots in the corner of the chat box allows you to save the chat in case you wanted to save the link, quotes, and comments. I used to save it and send it to the email group, and I haven't done that in a while. I guess I could do that too. Anyway, but you can save that, so you can save all the wonderful comments and quotes and things. Anyway, I hope you felt something. I hope you've gained something. I hope you go away feeling a little bit better, and having that strength that you know that you've linked arms with these other amazing, wonderful women, that you're not alone, and that you can do this. Absolutely, you can do this. So anyway, it's been wonderful. Thanks everybody for being here. Lindsay, it's good to see you and have you back here. Yeah, it is a heartwarming experience just being together with our friends, and I love it. So thanks for being here. Hopefully you'll see recordings if you're looking for that or want to share them with somebody that you're trying to kind of help them see this is what it feels like and encourage them to come. So anyway, thank you. Bye, my friends. And Ida, yes. I'm not coordinated enough to chat a response to you right now, but yes. Okay, thank you. Have a great weekend and a great week. Double hammock, nice. Bye, my friends.
Max hung his hammock like under the top bunk, like above his bottom bunk. So he just
Nice.
sleeps in his hammock
Nice.
instead of his bed.
I saw somewhere friends of ours, or at least friends of mine on Facebook, and they had a boys' room and it had adventure and different things on the walls and stuff. And they just had 3 hammocks strung, you know, across the room from different corners, kind of going over and, you know, diagonal from each other. Anyway, it was so cool. I would have loved that. I always wanted to live in a treehouse, so.
I must be old, and my back would kill me after sleeping in a hammock. Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
No, I know that that's true, but I have this dream world. It's like my fantasy farm life that I also, you know, imagine would just be so romantic and wonderful. And I don't think about waking up 4 and milking cows or anything. So,
Recording, Lori.
what?
You're still recording.
Oh, thanks.